We're recording. And welcome to Photoshop Party, all about the toolbar. And this is going to be simple, straightforward stuff. Most of you guys know a lot of it, so just bear with me and we'll see what happens and get going. So let me share my screen, go to Photoshop. And I just got this phone call this morning. My phone decided that it was not a legitimate call. It says, "Hi, this is Bob. We sent you a letter in the mail regarding your death elimination, so give us a call. Thank you." Okay, I'll give you guys a call about my death elimination.
Yeah.
They're out to get me.
I hate to tell you this, but I was looking up trying to find your YouTube channel last week and found out that you died. But I also found out that you'd been to the moon.
I had not been to the moon. I had circled around the moon many times, but I wasn't allowed to go down there.
You didn't have clearance, Clarence.
Yeah, I was surprised to see that. I was shocked. So
I was surprised this morning that you were a personal friend of Ayn Rand, according to a story too.
Of who?
Ayn Rand. Look her up. She's an author.
She's an author, Michael.
Oh, I don't read, so that explains a lot.
Big thick books.
Atlas Shrugged.
Yeah, Atlas Shrugged.
Yeah.
Well, if it's thick books, you definitely know I didn't read it.
It's not an audio tape. Forget it.
There you go.
Oh,
okay.
It's a bunch of audio CDs, actually.
Can everybody see my screen today?
Yes.
Yep.
See a little sunset and eagle and all kinds of cool stuff. Okay. We're going to go through the stuff fairly quickly. One of the things I want to do before I even get started, there's tools on here that I'm not going to use, and I'm not even going to talk about them. So I'm going to get rid of them. So I'm going to go to Edit Toolbar is one way to do it, or down at the bottom of the toolbar, there's 3 dots right underneath the zoom tool. Just double click on that and it should bring up Edit Toolbar, but it's not going to do that because we're on Zoom. So Edit Toolbar. Artboard tool, I don't use, so I'm getting rid of it. Single row marquee tool. I don't know what that thing even does, so I'm getting rid of that. Single column marquee tool, getting rid of it. Magnetic lasso tool. Since they've come out with all the selection tools, I don't use either the polygonal or polygonal lasso tool or the magnetic lasso tool. The object selection tool, magic selection tool, all those things I use. Slice tool. The slice tool was used for doing websites. So back in the days of old, when you had dial-up website like AOL, and your images would come up a little space at a time, is because of the slice tool would do that for you. We don't need that anymore. So I'm getting rid of that. Frame tool I'm going to keep. It's kind of weird, but I'm going to keep it. 3D material eyedropper tool. That's for 3D. I don't do 3D, so I'm going to say goodbye to that. Color sampler tool. We'll talk about it. Talk about the ruler tool and the count tool. All the healing brush stuff, I'm going to show you a little bit about that. Let's see, clone stamp, pattern stamp tool. I have no idea what that does. I've never used it. I tried looking up to see what it does, and I'm more confused now than I was before. Eraser tool. Yes.
Mike, you said you got rid of the pattern stamp?
The pattern stamp, yes. Clone stamp I'm keeping, pattern stamp I'm getting rid of.
Okay.
Eraser tool, I normally get rid of that. I can still use it. We'll talk about it and then I'll get rid of it again. Paint bucket tool. To me, the paint bucket tool is a waste of tool, but I'm going to go through and show you that. 3D material drop tool. Nope. That's 3D. It's above my pay grade. blur, sharpen, and smudge. I'm going to keep dodge and burn and sponge. I'll keep for now. Dodge and burn, I don't use at all. I've got a special way for doing that. You guys know how I feel about the pen tool. Curvature pen tool is brand new. It's supposed to be really good. I'm not playing with it. Goodbye. And delete anchor point tool, gone. Vertical type mask tool, I don't use. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm not even going to show you how to use that. Path selection tools, I'm not even going to do those. I'll leave in all the custom shape tools and the rectangle tool and all that good stuff. We'll go through and talk about those a little bit. The hand tool is a great tool. You don't need it in the toolbar. You can keep it there if you want. And then you got the rotate view tool. I'm going to show you that, and I'm going to delete it. And then we got the zoom tool. So I'm not getting rid of these permanently. They are just gone temporarily. Because if I want them back, I can drag them back over, or if I can hit the keyboard shortcut, I can bring them in there as well. So I'm going to save these. Let's see if I can remember how to do this and do it right. There we go. I hit the Shift Option Save. You don't have to hit Shift Option Save. You can just hit Done up there. So I hit Shift Option Done. And what that does, it brings a magical tool in my toolbar down here at the bottom of the toolbar, which is my banana. It's one of the Easter eggs in Photoshop that they have. So let's get started with the Move tool. Let's say I'm going to lasso this critter here. And you know what? I changed my mind. I'm not going to lasso. I am actually going to select object. So I'm going to lasso it, and it's going to automatically select it for me. And some extra. So I'll hit Alt or Option and get rid of the back part here. There we go. And now I just have the bird. So I hit Command J to bring it up on its own layer. I'm going to hit V for Move Tool, and I'm going to drag the selection over to the right. So now I have two birds. If I try to move the background, no matter what I do, you can't move it because the layer is locked. Well, I can move it if I want to. I just click on the lock and unlock it. Now I can move the background, but the whole thing disappears. So why would you want to move your background anyway? But it's available to do if you want to. The Move tool, the letter is V like in Victor. That's one of the keyboard shortcuts that you want to remember forever, so you don't have to go up and hit the Move tool, but it's there available. Also in the Move tool is the Art tool, but I'm not going to show that. Next thing down is the Marquee tool, and M for Marquee, and there's two different marquees in there. You have your rectangular marquee, which you can draw a square, a rectangle, or you have elliptical marquee where you draw an ellipse, an oval, or a circle. Now, if I hit the rectangular marquee tool, I can do a long selection using that. If I hold my Shift key down, it constrains it to a square. And once you have it set, you can move your square around if you want to. So it's easy to do. And then with the elliptical marquee tool, M is the magic letter for marquee, M for marquee. And if you want, right now it's set to elliptical. If I wanted square marquee, Shift M will bring up the square, and then shift him again will bring the elliptical again. So if you use the shift key, it cycles through your all the tools that are in that particular one. So right now we have two tools in there, rectangular and elliptical. Holding the shift key will go back and forth between the two. With the elliptical, I can do an oblong, or I can hold the shift key down and draw a perfect circle. So with the rectangular, you hold the shift key and it makes a perfect square. If you hold the shift key with the elliptical, it will make a perfect circle for you. That's the marquee tool. So that's good for doing selections. So if I wanted to make this on its own layer, hit Command J, and it won't work because I'm on the second layer. Command J brings up the bird and everything I selected around it. So back to my move tool, which is V, move it over here, and you can see that it selected the sky and everything. So I'll go back to get rid of that. You can also, once you have a selection done, you can go to select, modify, and you can add a border, smooth it out, expand it, contract it, or do a feather and make a softer edge around it.
Say, Mike,
Yes.
going back about 10 steps or so, when you circled around the bird,
Uh-huh.
and then had the little marching ants, I guess for a better word, around the bird, how accurate is that? So it has detail. I mean, does it really get into detail through the feathers and everything?
The select object portion of it?
Yes.
Yes, it does. In fact, let's go ahead and delete this layer real quick. We'll go to zoom in. I'm going to do a select object. So W is select object, and we'll show this in just a second in detail. Well, moving down the key, we'll do that right now. So if I put a select and mask, bring it up on that. I know I'm getting a little bit off here, but let's go to refine edge, make a little bit bigger brush. And you can see the selection is fairly good for that small of a bird.
Oh, okay.
You can see a little bit there that it's off a little bit. That's why I took it into select and mask and just go around the edge and tighten it up. But for the most part, it gets a great selection.
Yeah, it does. Okay.
And probably it's the blur that's causing that. So, because it's motion blur. And let's go ahead and deselect. And we have our lasso tool. The lasso tool is for making selections. You can draw a circle around it, and it brings up the select and mask at the top. So you can do the same thing with it up there.
Up where?
Okay. So the marquee, either rectangular or circular marquee, the lasso tool, and the magic wand tools are all made for selections. So anytime you're in these tools, it will bring up select and mask. And if you're in the magic wand tools, which is the object selection tool, the quick selection tool, and the magic wand tool, will always bring up the select subject. So if everything goes right, I'm going to hit select subject and it's going to pick out just the bird, and it did. So it kind of outsmarted me as to what I needed for the selection.
Would you want to go up and take the selection and expand or contract on your selection when you do that, Michael?
You could do that, or take it directly into select and mask. I like doing select and mask because it gives me a chance to do the entire bird. Because if I do an expansion, let's do select, modify, expand, let's say 3 pixels. You can see it goes outside. It has the whole bird, but then you also have the color on the outside as well. So that's why I would use select and mask in that particular case.
I've never used 3 pixels. I've always wanted like 0.5 or 1, and it seems to work, a little smoother. But
Right. Okay. Let's go to select, modify, and expand. We'll go 0.5. Okay. You have to go between 1 and
okay,
1 and so let's do 1. And it's still got a little bit area of the wing on the top. So I love select and mask, and I get along really well. You can also go to down at the bottom of the toolbar is quick
the
mask.
mask.
And quick mask is wonderful for getting in high details like that too. So, or hit Q for quick mask, and you can go in and paint out what you don't want or paint in what you do want. Command D to deselect, Command 0 to go full screen again, and Magic Wand tool. This one is an interesting tool. Let's say I want to select the bird using the Magic Wand tool. So W, Magic Wand. And right now my sample size is set 3 by 3. So let's do 5 by 5 sample size. And it still does the same selection. Tolerance is set to 20. The lower the tolerance, the less it will select. So let's go full screen again, and we'll deselect that. And to select the sky, right now this is 20 for tolerance, and that just selected that layer across at a 20 tolerance. If I dropped it down to say 5 for my tolerance, you can see it selected just a little bit less. If I bump it up to, well, let's bump it down just for fun to 1. That's a lot more than I thought it would take, but it is getting a little bit. Let's go up to 45 for tolerance, and you got a lot more. If I hold my shift key down, after that, we got good range there. And if we took it up to 80 for tolerance and clicked, it took a lot except for the light area down below. So the lower the tolerance, the less it's going to select. The higher the tolerance, the more it will. If I did point sample for sample size and set my tolerance to 5, okay, we got a little bit there. That's good. Take it down to 1. And then you can't really see what it selected. There's a little bitty dot. Basically, it took 1 pixel. Actually, it took 4 pixels at a selection of 1. So not bad. Deselect, go back up to my Magic Wand tool, reset everything again, set my tolerance to 25. 3 by 3 is where I keep it. And the thing about the tolerance next to it, anti-alias, basically that's a smoothing so you don't get cragged edges. And then contiguous means anywhere that it's close, it's going to select. If you do undo contiguous, and I wanted to get inside the trees, and I did that, it wouldn't get inside the trees because there's a line blocking it, basically. So I clicked on contiguous again, and you can see it stayed outside the trees because there's a blockage. With contiguous block checked off, what will happen, it will go in and select the colors based on where you're trying to go. So does that make sense? Does anybody need that explained further? I don't feel like I explained it good there. Okay, moving on. In the W's, or the Magic Wand tools, you have object selection, with object selection in the top toolbar, you can go to lasso or you can go to rectangle. So let's say I wanted to select the bird. I could do a rectangle around the bird and it's going to select it. And you'll notice that it kept the selection down below that we had before, because right now it's set to add selections. If I go to the next box, subtract from selection, get rid of the bird by selecting it. I can get rid of the selection we have down below just by selecting it. And then you have your first box, which is just adding a selection. So we'll add the bird. And I don't know why I added a round circle there. But you'll notice that when I do it, it's only selecting what's there. If I try to add, say, the tree down below, it gets the tree, but it doesn't keep the bird. That's because we don't have the additive selected. So add the selection, we'll add the bird, boom, and now you have the tree and the bird selected. And then the next one over is delete from selection or subtract. So we'll get rid of the tree. And for some reason, it's not getting rid of everything that I'm asking it to. That's weird. And then on the next one, you have intersect with selection. So I'm going to deselect everything. I'm going to add the bird. And then with the intersect, it may not work with this, but if I added more down here, yeah, it's not going to do it. I'd have to have a different picture for doing that one. And then the next tool in there is the quick selection tool. So I'm going to zoom in on the bird real quick for you. And with the quick selection tool, all you do is drag it inside the bird and it says, okay, this is the area that I want. And it's selecting the bird. If it gets too much, like in the between the wing and the tail here, I'm going to hold the Option or Alt key, and you see it turns from a plus sign to a minus. And I'm just going to drag it in a little bit and then redo the plus again. And it's a good tool, but it's not perfect. Whereas the select subject works so much better. I really enjoy using that. And again, you have just your regular selection, then you have additive, your addition to selection, and then subtracts from selection is the next one. So if I want to take off the tail, I could just draw the tail while it's in subtract, and it gets rid of the tail. Okay, let me reset that to plus, deselect, Command 0. And the next tool down is the crop tool. And trying to think of a picture that would work for me. Well, let's take these pairs real quick. I want to crop. So let's hit C for crop, or you go to the crop tool and click on the crop tool. Right now it's set to blank. There's nothing there because I had hit clear before. So I could selectively crop anywhere I want to go. I can make that my crop. And we can also do different things with that, and I'll show you that in a second. If I want an 8x10 crop, you can go to the presets up here and drop down to 4x5 or 8x10, or I have presets up already made. So I have my 8x10 at 300. I don't want 8x10, I want 10x8. So there's a couple of ways to fix this. Number one, where it says 8x10 at the top in the toolbar, if you click on the arrows between there, that will bring you to changing the perspective from 8x10 to 10x8. Or if you have the selection like this, the crop tool, Just like on changing your colors on your default colors, you hit X and it will change the setting for the crop tool. So you don't have to go in and type in 8 by 10. Whoops, I wanted 10 by 8. So go back over, hit 10 by 8. It's automatically done for you if you hit the X or the little arrow up at the top. And you can also change how many pixels per inch that you want to crop it at as well. And if you decide you don't want that, you just hit clear. You can tell it, I want this to be 6 inches wide, so 6 inches. I'm not going to fill in the blank on the right for the height. I'm going to keep it at 300. And I'm going to bring in the bottom and the top. And that just made it a 6-inch wide image. So if I go to image size, it tells me in inches, 6 inches by 2.8 inches at 300. Hit Command Z to go back. You also have in there, well, let me do this real quick. When you're doing landscape images, let me find a landscape real quick. Let's go to.
Yeah, just a second, my secretary's taking notes.
Well, it's about time somebody smart showed up. Good to see you.
Good to see you. I'm gonna leave him alone now.
Let's go to beaches. Where's me a beach? There's a good beach. I'm going to open this up really quick. Open. Okay, this is open. Does anybody notice anything wrong with this image? Other than the horizon line is like just a touch off. Well, I'm going to make it 6 inches wide because that's what it's set at. I'm going to hit right next to the clear button is the straighten. You click on the straighten button, you draw a line, hold the mouse while you're doing this, let it go, and it just straightened the image. There is no longer an excuse for having a horizon line that is not straight.
Oh, believe me, all the judges hear it all the time.
Yeah. Okay, next to the straighten tool is your crop options, your overlay options. Right now, mine is set to rule of thirds. So when I click on it, it brings up a rule of thirds in there for me. I can change it to a grid. I can change it to diagonals, to triangle, the golden ratio, and last but not least, the golden spiral.
Why would you have triangles?
Why would you have what?
Triangles?
Some people would like that for, for right now, the hot spot would be the bottom right where the intersect is, or the top left. That's for rule of thirds, we put that right in the power spots.
Okay.
Those are the two power spots. I'm not sure if I could change. I can't change that, I don't think. Yeah, I can't change that. Anyway, go back to rule of thirds. I'm going to bring my crop tool down just a little bit and move it so you can see everything. You'll notice that it's a little bit dimmer around the outside of my crop. There's a preset button right next to it which says show cropped area, auto center preview. So when you click on crop, it automatically puts it in the center. And then you can change the opacity of the outside. I have it set at 75% because that's what works for me. but you can change it to 100% to where you don't see anything on the outside of the crop, or you can lower it down to where you see everything. 75 seems to work good for me so that I can crop it any way I want it. You can do anything with the crop tool in play. Reset the crop box. So if I click on that, it's going to change it back to the full size. The right next to it is the circle with the line through it. Basically that says, I don't want to crop it, cancel. And then next to it is commit it. So if you click on that checkbox, or if you hit the return key, it should commit it. And then there's also content aware, which is really cool. I'm going to click on content aware, drag it out a little bit, and then click OK, or the return. And in a few seconds, it takes a little while to think. Not bad, but not great. Other than the thing in the left-hand corner here, it added pretty much what I wanted it to.
Can you do that again?
No, you didn't say please.
Please do this again.
Okay. There's my crop, and I'm going to take, let's just take it straight up. I needed a taller crop in here. In fact, yeah, I would just do it this way and hit return or hit the checkbox, and it's thinking, and it just added the sky in there to make it fit in.
That's under content aware.
That when you click the content aware button at the very top,
Right.
if you want to crop it and you have content aware clicked, it takes longer to crop. So I don't use that unless I'm actually needing the content aware.
Okay.
Perspective crop tool. Let me see if I've got any buildings real quick. Bring this in, open. This one's not bad. If I shoot, whoops. With a wide angle lens, I'm going to get distortion all the time. So if I click on the crop tool, next one down is perspective crop. So we're going to click on that, and I'm going to drag it all the way across. Let's say I want 6 inches wide. You can change the perspective by dragging the top or the bottom. So I could change it and bring the top over on both sides and really make it funky, but you can straighten an image with it doing it this way too. Whoops. Oh, it set it for 6 pixels. Haha. Let's go 6 inches. Six inches. And let's go ahead and do 12 inches. Change that. 12 inches. This computer does not want to play this morning. 12 inches by 6 inches. And we'll drag it all the way across. And we'll drag the tops over just to really skew the image. You can see you can change it by using the perspective crop tool. That makes it look like a Disney effect, how they did it. So let's go ahead and draw that over. And now what you would do is draw the bottom, bring the bottom corner in and try to match the wall on the left-hand side and then the wall on the right-hand side. And it almost got it straight again. That's the perspective crop tool. And it's set to 12 inches by 6 inches, and it does exactly what you want it to do. And with this, you can turn the grid on and off. I like the grid because it helps me line up my lines to get them straight. So that works wonders. And let's close that puppy out. Don't save. Close this guy out. Don't save. Don't save. Next tool down is the frame tool. I've used it a few times, but I'm not really good with it. Let me try this. Let's set up a frame. Let's say we wanted to put a picture in there. So I'm going to take my pairs, hit the move tool, drag them up, drag them in. And you can see it put that frame right where you want it. So if you're designing a website using Photoshop, you can lay out your grids with the frame tool. Click on frame, put one here, put one here, put one here. And now you got your frames lined up, and you can fill them with holders, or you can just leave them like they are and then put your text around it and build your website that way. Or you can also do flyers that way by putting, okay, I want my frame's going to go here, my image is going to go here, and then fill them in later. That's probably a full program by itself. So I'm just going to let that one go and call it good. Don't save. Next one down is the eyedropper tool. And there's a couple of different things you have here. You have the eyedropper tool, which you can go in and color sample. So I can just go in and use the eyedropper tool to color sample. If you have the brush open, go to my brush tool, get a regular soft round brush, and see what I'm doing. You can use the Option or Alt key to do the same thing. You can select your colors holding the Option or Alt key, or you can use the eyedropper tool and pick your colors as well. I haven't used the eyedropper tool in years because I just hold the Option key with the brush when I'm painting. The keyboard shortcut for eyedropper is I, so it's easy to remember. Color sampler tool. When you click on color sampler tool, it brings up your info panel in the right hand side up here. So if I click on this red, it gives you the CMYK numbers, the RGB numbers, so you can figure out where you're going with it. You can put as many samples as you want on there. And do that as well. And you can see it's got 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5. Each one, it tells you exactly what it is. So you've got number 1, which is on the first pair on the left, where I selected it, 161 green, I'm sorry, 161 red, 66 green, and 60 in the blue. So that's how the color sampler works. So let me go back.
I'm sorry, how did you sample more than one color at a time?
I click on them. So I'll click on the red, I'll click on the green. You don't have to hold the shift key down when you do it either. You just click. As long as you got the color sampler tool set, it will sample the colors. And you can also change from point sample to 101 by 101 average, which means 101.
I'm sorry.
So that means 101 pixels wide and 101 pixels tall. It will sample that area and average it out.
Can you put them into what do you call those little sample boxes so you can just get back to them later and reuse them
Yeah,
from there.
you can leave those there the whole time. So we can close this box and then we move on to something else. They're going to stay there. They won't print. So if you hit the print button right now, those won't show up in the print or the email, but they are there saved while you're working.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So if you need to do an exact color match and you don't have that color in your libraries, color sampler tool works really well. Also in the color sample or eyedropper tool, you have the ruler tool. I want to measure how wide this pear is so I can match it exactly. So I click and drag to the right, and it's supposed to tell me, oh, it's up in the upper toolbar. And also in the properties, it should show up, but it's not showing up. I don't know why. I did it earlier and it showed up for me, so. Huh. And also in this tool, you can use it to straighten the layer as well. So if I click on across the bottom here, and then click on straighten layer, it makes it nice and straight for you. So there's two different ways to straighten your layer. So when you want to impress the judges and have a nice solid horizon line, make Dennis happy by using this tool or the straighten tool. You can also do it in raw as well.
There's a third way you can do that as well. You can go up into the edit and go to arbitrary and straighten it with the ruler tool, and it'll straighten it up as well. So there's a third way you can do that. There's
probably 6 or 7 other ways as well.
Yeah. It's amazing, and I see this out there, Michael, and all everybody out here, and I just understand why we even have unstraight lines and things now.
Well, they don't notice it, and they should. Even if you don't notice it, draw your horizon across to make sure you got it straight.
You can do it for a vertical line in trees and things too. I've done it vertical, so you can do it as vertical as well.
You can do vertical as well, correct. Next tool down is the note tool. This is really cool if you are working with somebody. Like if I sent an image to Dennis and said, hey, Dennis, can you check this out for me and tell me what you think? He can come over here, draw a note and say, you have a highlight on your pear. Now that's in there. And when he sends it to me, he has to send it in a PSD file, a Photoshop file. But it'll say, hey, you have a highlight on your pear, or your stem is too dark. And so now I've got 2 notes on there. And when you send it back and forth, if you do it in a PSD file, it will show up and you'll have the notes there for you. When you go to print it, it will not show up in the print.
Michael?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you please show again where you found that color, all the different colors that you can go to at the same time? Forgot the name of the tool you said it was called.
The color sampler tool?
Color sampler tool. Yeah, mine doesn't come up.
Is it in the
tool, pencil color replacement tool, but no color sampler tool?
It should be in the eyedropper, right below the eyedropper tool. You can see on my left-hand side of the screen right here, I've got eyedropper tool and color sampler tool. It's under the eyes. So Shift I should bring it up.
Oh, okay. I was looking under brush.
Okay. Yeah, it's not in the brushes. I just use, when I'm using my brush, I just use the Option or Alt key to sample a color versus going back to the eyedropper tool.
Okay, thanks.
You betcha. And we have what's called the count tool. And we're going to count 1 pair, 2 pair, 3 pairs. So if you're trying to count something, this is more for probably medical use or scientific use, you can just start clicking all over the place and it will automatically keep track of how many times you've clicked on the screen.
Michael, is that a PDF, a PSD as well?
Actually, it just shows up on your screen. I don't think it will save. It won't save in a JPEG, I don't think. And it does not show up on print, by the way. I don't think.
Thank you.
I've never tried printing with it. Sending it to somebody, you'd probably have to do a PSD file so it would read this. I think. I'm going to save it real quick as a JPEG just for fun.
How to make the numbers bigger?
Hang on one second. One step at a time. Save this. Command O to open that. Holy cow. It's not showing up there yet. There it is. Okay, it does show up on a JPEG. And I'm going to print it really fast. It's not going to show up on a print. So it does show up if you save it as a JPEG. Let me close those down. You can do label size, I believe, is how you make it bigger. So let's make it 20. And you make them bigger. 50. Make them really big.
Where are you making those numbers?
Okay, at the very top toolbar.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
You can change the color. So instead of blue, you can make them red, pink, or whatever color you want. Cancel. You can hit the clear button. So we'll do 1 pair, 2 pair, 3 pairs more. Let's count group 1. Okay. And then we'll add a group, count group 2, 1 pair, 2 pair, 3 pair. So you can do multiple counts on there. If you want, you could change the color of each group. So group 2 is pink and group 1 is in the bluish range. Marker size, I don't know what that does. I don't know, but you can make them smaller or bigger using the label size up here at the top.
Great. Thank you so much.
Okay. Any other questions on that one?
So I have one on that color sampler again, if I could.
Okay.
I don't understand how you would use it. Like if you've got the colors sampled and you want to use them in the painting, how do you use them from? I mean, or why are you sampling them? To just
Well, let's say I want to do some painting on the left side of the left pair, and I want it to match this area right here. So I took a sample of that. And there's also another reason I'll tell you in a second, but this tells you, okay, number 1 is 148, 121, 113. So I would come over here to my brush and I would make red 148, 121, 113. And that gives me that color. Go to my brush tool. And then I paint, and that's the same exact color that is right there.
Okay, so I understand that. I just thought maybe there's an easier way to do it, like you just get to click.
There is, with the color sampler tool, when you're retouching out like tan lines and stuff, we did this in the past. When you do a tan line, you do 2 different color samples, and then you paint the one color sample in so that the skin colors match. We can show that again next week and show you how to do that one. It's really cool, especially like photographing seniors. You have a golfer or somebody that's outside all the time, so they have that nasty tan line and wants to go barefoot on the beach. you could paint in the tan line for them and make the tan kind of match. Okay, the brush tool, we kind of went through that a couple of weeks ago, but you got B for brush, you got your brush tool, you got your pencil tool, which basically is a hard-edged brush, color replacement tool. So let's say I wanted to paint the pear green. I am going to option click that green color up there. And I'm going to use the color replacement tool, and I'm going to paint my pear. And you can see I'm not being extremely careful, but what it's doing is keeping me coloring within the lines. I could have used this when I was a child because I never colored within the lines. Never. And you can see it does a great job of painting. So we have, let's go ahead and make a yellow. I want to see how that works.
Can you do that again? You want to what again? What?
Okay, hang on. Okay. I'm going to paint the middle pear yellow. So I'm using, on the left-hand side, we're going to use color replacement tool. It's in the brushes.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go to color replacement tool, and I am going to paint. That's painting too green for me. I want more yellow. Let's make it yellow.
So you can take a sample off the background just by hitting the option?
Yeah. And that's still painting green or greenish tint instead of yellow like I wanted.
Michael, is it mixing the base color there, that red and the yellow, and coming up with that?
I'm not sure what it's doing, to be honest with you. I have never played with this until recently.
Because it doesn't look like it's coming out that yellow that you clicked on, but it looks like it's the yellow plus that red and coming up with that. I'm guessing, I don't know, but.
I like that color.
Let's try saturation. Okay, that's coming up red. I'm changing the different modes up here. This is color. Yeah, it's for some reason it's not doing what I want it to, so. I got to figure out why it's doing that green. It might be mixing. Tolerance is set to 30. Let's bump it up to 63. See if that, oops. Let's go back to color again. I'm going to make sure it's really yellow. Get rid of all the green I can. So I'm going to make it 255, 255, 250, and 0. So that makes me yellow, yellow, yellow. And it's still coming up green. So I don't know what the answer is to that one, folks. Huh.
Try painting on the wood below and see if the or see, now you're coming yellow, so it is picking up the red color and making that the green.
Okay, I'm getting yellow there, so. I don't know. But it's pretty cool to be able to make that come up green and change the color without having to worry about staying within the lines. So
it stays in the lines no matter what, as long as you're.
Not always. At the very top toolbar, you have find edges, contiguous, or discontiguous. So if I paint it on here right now, you can see it's not even coming close to finding the edges. Contiguous, it kind of stays within the lines there. So something to play with. Just another tool in the tool bag. And then the mixer brush tool. This is cool. Let me get my Wacom tablet and play with it. I have my mixer brush tool set to the letter A because when I'm doing it, it's not a brush for me. It's a painting thing. A is a letter that is not taken by very many things, so I do that. And if I wanted to paint it a little bit more, The mixer brush is good for smudging and making it look like an oil painting. Sandra Pierce, Michelle Parsley, some girl named Sherry Hammond are really good at painting. The mixer brush is one of the tools in their tool bag that they use on a regular basis.
Didn't Sandra Pierce name that brush after you, Michael?
The greasy blender brush.
Something like that.
Yeah. Let's see. Next on the toolbar is, in fact, let me go in, change my brush. I'm going to go edit toolbar and go down to my brushes. Oh, I skipped over the healing brush. Oh no. And I just click on the letter B next to the mixer brush and I type in A and then drag it down one. And now it's in its own slot. So it's outside of the brushes. And if you look on the toolbar, it's below the brushes. So let's click done. And you can see below the brushes, I have my mixer brush now. So that's really cool. Why did I skip over the healing brush? Oh my God. Okay. There's a couple of different brushes in the healing brush. This will be the last tool we get to today. You got your spot healing brush, your healing brush tool, patch tool, content aware move tool, and red eye tool. So let's go ahead and let's go over to the Eagle real quick. I'm on my healing brush tool. So this is the spot healing brush. All I do is swipe over the bird and it's bird be gone, which is really cool. Hit Command Z to bring my bird back. Next one down is the healing brush tool. And if you try to swipe over it, you say, you have to option click to define your point source. Okay, let's do that. And a lot of times I have sample all layers or current and below when you're doing this. Right now it's set to current layer. Let's do current and below, although there's no layers below. And you have sampled and pattern. Let's go ahead and sample this. So I alt click, make a bigger brush, and I'm going to paint over my bird. And voila, he's gone. You can do this as well. So we'll take down in the tree area in the middle here, hit the option key and select this area. And we'll just kind of paint over the birds in the tree. And they're gone. And you can't tell they're gone. It just added branches to it.
So it just clones what it does.
It's kind of cloning, but it also, unlike the clone tool, it samples the colors and matches the colors so it looks like it's supposed to be there. If I did the clone tool, so S for the clone tool, option click and erase. Oh, it's in multiply mode. I don't want that. Let's go to normal. Option click and paint over. You can see it got rid of the bird, but it also brought in the color from where I sampled from. So that's kind of the problem with the clone tool. The patch tool, I've got it set to content aware, so I'll select, drag him over, and he's gone. That's the patch tool. I can take a section out of the tree, take the patch tool up, take a second, and it likes to bring in the color as well, but it got rid of a lot of the tree down there. Content aware move tool. This one, okay, everybody pay attention. This is the content aware move tool. I circle my bird and I drag him over to the left and hit OK. and wait and wait and wait. And now.
Get out of here. You're kidding me.
Do the same thing, drag it that way. This is the content aware move tool. It is effective about 90% of the time when you're doing stuff like this. You can see that it blended in very nicely with where you're moving him to.
Try moving it into the trees.
Troublemaker.
Of course, yeah. We'll see. I've never tried doing it like that.
There's always one.
Yep. Ooh.
Didn't work.
Epic fail.
Okay, so we see what happens when you try to move an eagle into a tree. If he doesn't want to go in, he ain't
wants to
going in.
fly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the content aware move tool. I've seen some demonstrations on it where it just is jaw dropping. And I've seen demonstrations on it where it's like, nope, did not work. But
Like there.
like there, exactly. About 90% of the time. And we got the red eye tool. So let's go ahead and go to the red eye tool. Yeah, we'll go to the red eye. This is an extreme case of red eye, so it works really good. So you click on the red, and you get rid of the red eye. If the eyes are if the red part is a lot smaller, it's going to take up the iris, the colored portion of the eyes, and it's going to make them black as well. So that doesn't always work. Sometimes you have to do it the old-fashioned way with painting and things like that. So that's the red eye tool. So that's about halfway through the toolbar in an hour. Wow, that's bizarre. So any other questions? Anything you want me to go back to?
Oh.
Yeah, very interesting, Mike.
Yeah, I just one thing, Mike. Can you go back to where you're moving, adding birds, cloning the bird sky so there's more than one?
What I would do is just go back to my bird collection and start adding them in. But what I could do is hit W for the magic wand tool, select subject, Command J, move tool, and then we'll hit Command T so it doesn't look the same. We're going to make them a little bit smaller. We'll rotate him a little bit so he's flying downward. And where the heck did this come from?
It picked up your sun too, for some reason.
It picked up what?
The sun. It selected
yeah,
the
I don't know
sun.
why it did that.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we'll do is run my action, say goodbye. Oh, it's on a separate layer. Okay, let's do this.
Yes.
I always do that. I don't know why.
You can go to your content aware move tool.
Well, let's do this. Let's flatten the image, Command E, content aware. There we go. I have an action. I just hit F3 and it gets rid of it. Anyway, with the birds, you can select object or select subjects. You got both now. And we'll Command J. And hopefully I didn't get...
You got the sun.
You got some of your sun.
Yeah.
I got some of the sun. Yep. Well, let's do this. Lasso. Whoops. Option lasso. And that got rid of the sun. Now I'll Command J and move tool. Command T. Flip horizontal. Call it good. Use my eraser tool to get rid of this smudge right here. And I never use the eraser tool, so. There are occasions when you can use it, but you can just keep adding birds in really fast. Any other questions?
Pretty awesome.
There is so much going on with this program, and it's unbelievable. And I know 1/10 of it, maybe. I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, I might be a 4 in Photoshop, where Julianne Koss is a 10, obviously.
I have a question.
I have an
I'm
answer.
sorry, for next time. Creating a clipping mask and then putting a transparency. So that, like, I want to make some letters transparent on a wine glass.
Okay.
So I want to cut out some letters. But that would probably be several steps. So maybe we could do that next time.
Yeah. Okay. Clipping mask for next time. Alrighty. I will try to finish the toolbar next time too. Any other questions going once, going twice?